I became
this sober vet.
Don't live, don't live, don't live wild.
Our mission is to normalize sobriety with veterans who are using and abusing substances in a harmful, self-medicating way. Welcome, 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 world. We have made it. We're here at episode 18 of This Sober Vet. I am DD214 alumni, Joe Urick, and I am joined by my sister in arms, DD2 alumni, Dr. Teresa Thomas. How you doing, Dr. T?
I'm doing well, Joe. How about yourself? Doing outstanding today?
I'm feeling blessed to be here, and every day is an outstanding day, especially when you're sober.
Yeah. Aren't you celebrating 3 years?
It just passed. The 11th, what was that,
Yes.
last week was 3 years for me. Isn't that crazy?
Outstanding.
Yeah, I know.
Congratulations
Thank
to
you.
you.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I appreciate that. So I hope all of our listeners are sitting down because you're about to be therapized. Dr. T, why is it that people like myself are here? Why are we dealing with these addictions? Like what made me susceptible to addiction where my buddy could have 2 beers and not drink till next weekend? And here I am, like, have 1 beer turn into 30 beers, turn into shots, turn into everything. Can you kind of therapize that for me?
I can, just a little bit here. Brain chemistry and reward system activation. Substances flood the brain with dopamine, creating intense feelings of pleasure or euphoria even. And repeated use alters brain chemistry and reinforces the desire to keep using, even when negative consequences occur.
All righty. Look at that. You have all just been therapized. Thank you for that, Dr. T. I appreciate it. I always love when you drop knowledge. It's good stuff.
Absolutely.
And today I'm excited to invite Marine veteran Brian Reidinger to the podcast. Welcome, Brian. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for being on the podcast. We appreciate it. So you're a
Yes.
Marine veteran. Can you kind of jump right into why you chose the Marines and the background on that?
Well, my best friend growing up, his dad was a Marine and a state trooper up in Illinois. And I grew up just surrounded by being in his household and the Marine Corps and the stories. And since a young age, I just wanted to be a Marine. I thought that was the thing to do.
Okay.
And then 9/11 happened and I knew what I needed to do. So
Felt that calling. Good stuff.
felt
Nice.
the call.
So what year did you join? Was it 2001?
2006.
2000. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Nice. So yeah, tell us about that. Where were you stationed? Did you get to do anything fun? Any deployments?
So I did a couple combat deployments. I was stationed in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I went to basic training down at Parris Island, MOS school in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And my unit was CLR 27 MP Company. So we were field side military police. We didn't do any PMO when we were stateside. We were training and we do workups and then we deployed.
Wow.
So we were a security detachment.
Okay. So any action over there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we did a lot of logistics between bases. So we ran out of Al-Assad, different CLBs that we were with, a lot of route recons. I was the lead scout gunner. So
Ooh.
my first deployment, I was scared to death.
Understandable.
I didn't really know what I was getting into, and I didn't really realize what it entailed, So being up there and the gun and all these people's lives,
Mhm.
Is pretty much in your eyes and your hands and your gut. It's hard, all the IEDs out there, all the small arms fire, you don't know where it's coming from, so on and so forth. So,
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
yeah.
So can you kind of tell us what your addiction or drug of choice was and the backstory on how that began?
My story started with alcohol, and it didn't really happen until the Marine Corps. I drank a little bit at the end of high school, but I was more into sports at that time. But when I got in the Marine Corps, I didn't know what happened. Like, I showed up to the barracks and it was a party. And I was like, whoa, like, this is what we do. Okay. So, like, I think the first weekend I was there, hazing occurs,
Of
the
course.
brotherly love
Yep.
in the military. And it was on the third deck of HP 301, which is right by the John L. Lejeune statue. And I had beer poured on me by my older brothers. And I was getting punished for underage drinking.
Mm.
So it was a fun festivity. That was like my first weekend in the fleet. And once I made it through that and they realized that I had some tough skin and, I kind of was brought in to the group. And, we work hard, we train hard, but in the Marine Corps, we party hard. And
Mhm.
it is a whole different level. And I learned to mask my feelings and numb my feelings with alcohol at an early age, even before I was
Mm.
legally allowed to drink. And it took off. Alcohol was my crutch during those times, coming, before deployments with the nerves, coming home from the deployments with everything. I had trouble adjusting, and it just progressively got worse. And I didn't realize it because, when you're in the Corps and the military in general, drinking is normal.
Right.
You know, at Camp Lejeune, they have a bar called Heroes, and their motto is the only bar in the world that you can low crawl home from. And my barracks was across the parking lot from the
Wow.
Heroes.
Okay.
Okay.
Mhm.
And as long as you can respectfully tell the bartender what you want to drink and not be belligerent, you didn't get cut off. So they bred a monster in me from an early age. Like when I turned 21, I probably had the seasoned of a 65-year-old, you know,
Tracking.
at that
Yep.
point. So I used to just drink on the weekends because PT and stuff, and then it just progressively built. I'd start drinking on weeknights, and then I'd try to stop, at a decent time to go to sleep before PT. And
Mhm.
then that progressively got worse to where I'd show up to PT drunk.
Mm.
I would try to mix liquor in my Camelback, which is a big no-no because dehydration.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I've had mornings that I've been blacked out, and
Wow.
I was able to perform my duties, but not in a safe way. All that happened, and then certain injuries take place when you're in, and you get other things added into the equation. So now, like opiates, I didn't
Mm.
experience that until the Marine Corps, and that made me feel good.
Mhm.
Now, were you still drinking while taking the opioids, or how did
Yes,
that
sir.
work? Okay.
Yeah, I never stopped. When I added something to it, I just added it. I never cut something out or replaced anything.
Hmm.
My tolerance grew for the alcohol, and it would take a lot more to get me to where I wanted to be. And then I add other things into the equation, and so in the 12 steps, like in AA, they call it the I have arrived feeling.
Mm.
That's literally how it feels when you put that stuff in your system. It's like, all right, I can do that. I can do whatever. You tell me to do it,
Mhm.
I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And I'm going to be okay for now. At least I think so.
Hmm.
And that's
Uh-huh.
what the disease does in my head. So,
Yeah, I think Homer Simpson said it best when he says alcohol, the cause of and solution to all of life's problems.
yes, 100%.
Because I felt the same way, especially in the barracks when you're surrounded by your brothers and sisters, like you're just, it's like a camaraderie thing. It's an
It
acceptance
is.
thing. It's a
Yeah.
culture thing.
It's crazy because, like, if if we were roommates in the barracks, if you had something good happen, we get a case of beer or a bottle of whiskey or a bottle of vodka, and we would celebrate. Okay.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
If you got some bad news, we would get a case of beer, a bottle of whiskey, or some kind of liquor,
Yep.
and we would work through it. If we
Right.
were scared
Exactly.
about something, I mean, even a hurricane party, we're on the
Mhm.
coast in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Uh,
When they shut down base, what do you
Yeah.
think the first thing that runs out is? The liquor store. Because we
Yeah.
go and buy everything and we're like, all right, let's ride this out.
uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Like
Wow.
that's just how they I don't know, it's formed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the culture.
It's fun
Dude,
at
it's
the
a
time.
blast. Yeah, at the time, it's a blast. Absolutely. So, when did you realize? Because I didn't realize when I was in that it was as much as a problem as it is.
No.
Because again, you're surrounded. So by people that are doing the same thing. So at what point did you either have someone tell you or did you yourself realize like, holy crap, this is not normal?
Not until I got out.
Mm-hmm.
When was that,
And
Brian? When'd you get out?
in 2011.
Okay.
Okay.
And when I got out, mind you, I wanted to stay in. Okay. So let me backtrack this a little bit. And this kind of fuels my fire. So I had plans of being a career Marine. The president at the time was the Marine Corps was over quota. So he was trying to downsize the Marine Corps. So instead of, doing certain things, he raised cutting scores to where, you couldn't re-enlist or get promoted. He was trying to level out the playing field. And I could have stayed in, but I would have had to do a lat move. And I was not okay with that. So
Mhm.
within just a couple months, I didn't have a plan.
Mm.
I had nothing. And I was like, all right, I'm getting out, so very ill prepared. And when I got home, everyone was like, dude, what's wrong with you? You're not right. And I was like, no, what's wrong with you? Like, I'm doing great. Like,
Right.
you need to get on my level and then we can get along a little bit better.
Right. Right.
But that's wrong. Yeah, I was so far gone in my addiction, my alcoholism, that I was blind to it. When I get back into society, I'm not okay. I'm not close to being okay. I can't go and do a job interview and smell like booze, but I can show up, I'm in this routine where I can show up in the morning and I could be sweating whiskey
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
and get promoted at the same time.
Right.
But
Mhm.
Yeah.
now I'm trying to figure out what my career is going to be and what I'm going to do. And I have this big monkey on my back that I can't shake.
Yeah.
And it's so accessible. You literally could get it anywhere, drink anytime during the day. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's that's hard, dude. Now, at
It,
this
it, it,
point, were you living when you first got out? Did you stay back home with your parents? Did you have an apartment or? Okay,
no, I moved back in with my parents.
okay.
And that was a shock too. I had no preparation. I had these plans, but they were how I would call like my 18-year-old. He has plans, but his plans are not really realistic. Mine weren't realistic at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I was lost and I didn't know I was lost at the time. That's the best way to put it.
That's a great way
Yeah.
of putting it. I was in a
Yeah.
similar situation when I first got out. I stayed with my parents for like 3 months until I could find an apartment.
Yeah.
And within the first 2 weeks, my stepmom was like, "You are drinking way too much." I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like I wasn't even drinking to get drunk. I was just kind of what I would consider chill drinking.
Yeah.
And that brought
Mhm.
up a huge red flag to her. So my response was, damn, I got to get an apartment ASAP to get this lady off my back so I can
Yeah.
continue
So we
doing
can
me.
keep doing what we want to do.
I know. Isn't that so stupid? Like in hindsight,
Yeah.
it makes no sense. Attention veteran entrepreneurs, we've got a special announcement just for you. Marathon Business Advisory Services is proud to present a unique opportunity, a J-Dog franchise, veteran owned and ready for its next chapter. Whether you're looking to own your first business or grow through acquisition, this could be the perfect fit. And the best part, it's completely confidential, with no cost and no obligation to explore the opportunity. Just reach out to Jay Calandra at j.calandra@marathonbas.com to learn more. Support veteran success. Build your future. Let Marathon guide the way. So what was the next step for you?
Well, that was like my cliff point right there. When I got home, and by cliff point, I mean that's where my feet stopped touching the road.
Mm.
So I knew I had a problem. I didn't want to accept that I have a problem. I didn't want to admit it. I said, well, I can make something work. Okay. Well, instead of alcohol all the time, I had a whole bunch of pain medicine from the Marine Corps.
Mhm.
And I'm like, hey, I can take this, feel good, and not smell like booze and be productive. Like, hey, this gives me energy. It makes me feel good. My body's not hurting.
Mhm.
Uh, and it started very small. Uh, and then within probably a week or two, I was completely spiraled out of control.
Oh, wow.
And uh, pain pills that should have lasted a normal person, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, I went through in about 2 weeks.
Damn.
It went like I went completely upside down, and it's not easy to find pills all the time.
Mm.
Is that something you could OD on just real quick?
100% yes.
Oh wow.
Yes. Yes.
So that was a risk factor with you taking that much that soon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, lying to everybody, making them think that I'm okay or I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. Looking back on it, I know everyone could see right through me, but I felt like I was convincing everybody at the time. So then the endless search started, and I would go out and try to find pills to buy. It was like the lowest of the lows, and then I couldn't find any, and I was introduced to heroin.
Mhm.
Mm.
It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot stronger. I literally sat there and convinced myself this is the way to go. This isn't any different than what you've been doing. It's the same. It's
Mhm.
opiates, and I can still remember the first time I did it. Like it was so degrading,
Mm.
but yet so amazing, if that makes sense. Like it was the smallest amount got me over the top of where I wanted to be.
Wow.
I thought I could do that in moderation. Like, all right, well, I got to do minimal amounts of this to do the same feeling as all the pills. And that wasn't the case.
Mhm.
That multiplied almost from the instant.
Okay.
And that's tough because you're chasing that initial high, but you're also feeling this shame and low,
Yes.
and you're navigating. Oh yeah, that is
Mhm.
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and when I don't know how to put this, so I used to convince myself I'd be sitting in my car after getting whatever substance I was getting at that time. It was heroin.
Mhm.
And I'd be like, well, I'm not a junkie. I don't use a needle. I'm better than that.
Yeah.
I'm not as bad as these people. So, I'm trying to like justify what I'm doing.
Right.
Within a month, I was using a needle
Oh no.
Mm.
because my tolerance was getting built so much that I knew that it would take less if I started doing intravenous
Okay.
IV use drugs. And that spiraled out of control again.
Mhm.
So I have not even hit the bottom, and I start stealing. I
Yeah.
start doing things to my family that I would never imagine to do. It turned me into scum.
Mm.
Like I had no heart, I had no remorse, I had no feelings for hurting anyone. All that mattered was that I wouldn't be sick and that I felt the way I wanted to feel.
Yeah.
And whoever was in my path meant nothing to me at the time. But I used everybody, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does.
I would manipulate
Mhm.
my family to the most. And being a mama's boy growing up, that worked for my mom. My dad saw through it.
Mm-hmm.
My mom got away with it. So, like, not only did I cause issues in my life, but my issues and my manipulation caused issues in their lives and everyone else
Mhm.
around. Like people did not want to be around me. I didn't get invited, and if I was invited, they didn't want me to stay long.
Wow.
Mm.
Uh I was ripping and running, and it all happened within 12 months of me getting out.
Wow, that's wild.
Like
That is.
going from where I was at to, I mean, pretty much being homeless. I don't know, man. Like doing what I did to my parents, like I know I'd show up every couple of days. I'd eat or I'd get some money, I'd sleep, but I'd be gone again, and not understanding what I was mentally doing to the people that never turn their backs on me.
Yeah.
Now, while you were going through that, did you feel resentment towards your family for like not inviting you to stuff? Were you like, man, F that, like I don't need them? Or did you understand? Or how were you mentally at that time?
So at the time, I had a lot of anger. Um, and I don't necessarily know if it was anger directed towards them, but I was just angry in general because I could never get enough of what I wanted. And when I had it, I was always like trying to figure out how I was going to get more. Yes, it would hurt my feelings because that Brian that was inside the whole time, he wanted to be, involved and asked to go to family functions and to do this and do that. But I knew deep down that I was not in any way, shape, or form okay to be around that,
Mhm.
And the sad part is if I didn't want or need anything from you, I wasn't around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an as needed basis. It
Yeah.
Mhm.
sounds like you're chasing like a bottomless pit. And I wonder if when I first got out, I had a very tough time transitioning. Like I knew when I was going to get out. I just did my initial enlistment. I was stop loss for a little, but after the deployment Dr. T and I were on, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm getting out. I did my part.
Yeah.
When I got out, my biggest thing was when I did move into my apartment and I was alone, my friends here were not my friends on that level anymore because they saw a difference in me where my humor got really dark. I drank a lot. I was more boisterous and outgoing than ever before because that's how I was around my brothers and sisters in the barracks. That's how I was around my family then. So when I came out and I didn't have that, it like it created an emptiness that I felt like I was chasing with the alcohol too. So do you
Yeah.
think abruptly making that transition is what created that hole in you?
Yeah. I didn't have too many friends that I had left behind. There was a couple guys that, I just recently got back into contact with one of them because I don't blame him for not wanting to be around me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I don't at all. Looking back on it now, at that time, I almost forgot that he even existed because I was so blinded by my addiction that I didn't think about, actual friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I only wanted to be around people that had whatever I wanted or a
Mhm.
way to get whatever I wanted.
Gotcha. Now you said, Brian, that you still hadn't reached rock bottom yet.
No,
That still
no,
wasn't rock bottom.
no.
When when was your moment of rock bottom?
So here in Southern Indiana, we have a program called Veterans Treatment Court of Southern Indiana,
Okay.
and it is a substance abuse rehabilitation court program for veterans. So when
Mhm.
we get in trouble, I went through that. Uh, it was 2016,
Mm.
and I was in it for about a year and a half, and I successfully completed it, but I was still not done. When I went through veterans court, I wanted to make everyone think that I was doing better than I really was.
Mm.
Um, I was forced to go to meetings. And when I would go to the meetings, I didn't pay attention to the meetings. It was all like a social event for me.
Mhm.
I would pick meetings that had, the younger people and the girls and whatever, I was still chasing whatever I wanted. Uh, and I struggled through veterans court, even though I graduated, I probably shouldn't have, because they prescribed me a medication that I spiraled out of control with again,
Oh no.
Mm.
and that was gabapentin.
Mm.
Okay.
So coming off opiates, the VA, they prescribed me this gabapentin for,
Mhm.
they call it the nerve pain.
Right.
And I started abusing that. Like I was only supposed to take like, I think 800 milligrams twice a day. Okay. Well, it got to be, I was taking 800 milligrams like 3 or 4 times a day
Mhm.
because it gives you an alcohol buzz.
Oh wow.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I was abusing my medication throughout this whole time. So I was never into recovery. My whole mission was to make everyone think I was, you know, I don't know. That's like the first time that I started feeling something good. Like when people are like, dude, you look like you're doing great, and that fueled the desire to keep convincing people I was doing better than I actually was. I didn't want people
Mhm.
to see the real Brian. I didn't want people to see that I was still trying to use, even though it wasn't. And in my mind, I'm like, well, this isn't what you were addicted to. This isn't alcohol. This isn't opiates. This is
Yeah.
a medication.
So it's okay. Yeah.
So like
Mhm.
this twisted chemical imbalance in my head's telling me that it's okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
justifying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, justifying. And I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, I'm only taking my prescription medicine, even though I was buying it from other people. I was doing all this stuff just to keep going harder and harder.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow, some way, I managed, to make it through this treatment court program
Mhm.
and get my charges. You get amended down if you complete it. And it's strenuous. They send you to actual rehab. You do like, I think 5, 6 meetings a week. It is very hands on. And I
Mhm.
went to a veterans treatment facility.
Okay.
It's now closed down due to some faulty something. I don't know. But it was a place
Mm.
called Interlink, and it was literally just for veterans. I don't know how I was able to mask my way through that.
Mm.
I don't. I can't really have that answer for you right now. But I wasn't done. I didn't. I still haven't felt enough pain. Like I got arrested so many times, and it was all smack on the wrist, smack on the wrist. I go to jail for a little bit. All it would do is bring my tolerance down. I'd go right back out and do it again. This
Mhm.
this vicious cycle that I was
Yeah.
in, and I was okay with because I was surviving. I wasn't living. I was surviving at the time.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then after Veterans Court, I I lasted probably a couple months, and the alcohol was the first thing I picked up. And it was I can still remember it was after a cold day of work or a hot day of work, pouring concrete, and it was an ice cold beer.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I'm like, all right, this disease I have tells me that I can take a drink and put it down because I've been, not touching opiates or not touching alcohol for so long. I was like, you can have a beer, Brian. Like a beer's not going to hurt you. A beer's
Mhm.
not going to, put you down, right? Well, when I drink a beer, I fall face first into a bag of dope. That's my disease,
Gotcha.
Mhm.
So because
Yeah.
the beer's not going to be enough anymore because I've raised my bar
Yeah.
of this euphoric feeling,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have the patience for alcohol anymore. I don't have the patience to sit there and drink to get the feeling. I want to snort something or shoot something, and it's immediate feeling,
Right.
you know.
Yep.
And that it literally happened. It was that night after work in the shop. I drank a beer, and then later that night, probably 3.5 hours later, I was on the road going to buy some dope.
Mm.
And then here we go again. It's
Spiral.
like I didn't do enough, and this time was worse. I had a lot more resources. I knew where to go,
Mhm.
and the one thing in my equation that did not add up was my source of income because I couldn't hold a job, and if I could hold a job, I'd stay up all night, and then I was not in any kind of shape to come into work the next day.
Mm.
Uh, so now I turned into survival skills, and that is not caring who I hurt. I would steal everything. I would. I would literally, I steal stuff out of my own dad's garage
Hmm.
and pawn it. My dad has, bless his heart, man. I have put him through the ringer. Uh, he has had to buy his stuff back from pawn shops so many times.
Wow.
I would disown me.
Hmm.
Well,
I mean, I would.
he loves you though.
He
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't understand the patience that God put in my father and in my mom,
Uh-huh.
to this day. because I wouldn't put up with it, as a parent. I don't think I could do what I put them through.
Mhm.
I don't think I can, So this time was a lot worse. I wasn't just worried about where I was going to get it. I just needed to worry about how I was going to get it. This is what led me to my rock bottom. So I would steal and burglarize whatever I could throughout the night
Mm.
for what I would want to sell and do the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And this went on for about 3-4 months. But in this entire time of 3 to 4 months, they had an investigation on me.
Hmm. Wow.
And I didn't know, I was so blinded by it because I was being successful. It makes me sick to say that, but I was being successful because I was able to do what I wanted to do
Right.
in the time frame that I needed to do it.
Right.
Mhm.
When they set up the sting on me with all the stolen stuff, mind you, I'm probably 160 pounds soaking wet at this time because I'm so sick.
Mm-hmm.
I still feel like I'm, 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And this detective should have been a defensive tackle for an NFL team.
Mhm.
He tackled me so hard, I
Oh,
cleared 2 parking spots
Whoa. Damn.
and they had me surrounded, right? And
goodness.
I deserved it. No, don't say goodness. I deserved every bit of that. Okay, plus some probably. They
Uh,
they took it easy, but they knew that with my mindset, I'm not stable enough just to walk up on and say, "Mr. Rodinger, put your hands behind your back."
Right.
No,
mhm.
they know, So they did what they felt they needed to do, and I will tell you this today: I am so grateful for that sting operation in the Walmart parking lot
Love
Wow.
in
that.
Clarksville, Indiana, because
Mhm.
they stopped me,
Love that.
and they stopped me with enough charges
Hmm.
that I wasn't going to get out.
Wow.
Wow. So do tell. So what happens next?
Yeah.
So I got charged with, I think, originally was like 13 felony charges.
Whoa.
Wow.
Uh, and it got down to possession of a firearm, uh, burglary, and then I had some battery charges also in the mix. They sat me down, and the smack on the wrist was no more.
Mm-hmm.
When I kind of came to a little bit and knocked on the door in jail and said, "What's my bond?" And they said $50,000 full cash.
Hmm.
Mm.
I said, "I'm not getting out. I
Wow.
can't."
Mhm.
I burned every bridge. It was hard enough just to call someone and get $20 so I can, get some toiletries. Uh, and they still didn't want to do it because of all the I didn't have any bridges left.
Wow.
I've literally dug myself into this hole, and God sat me down at that point in time.
Mhm.
And, I didn't want to hurt my mom anymore. I know they actually had a sigh of relief because they knew that their son, even though I'm not okay I'm safe at
Right.
that point. So I'm trying to tell my mom, it's going to work out. I'm going to get out. I'm going to be home, knowing I'm probably not going to be home for a while. And they came at me with a 9-year sentence.
Oof.
Mm.
Uh, and mind you, the 9-year sentence, it's with a program called Recovery While Incarcerated. So I spent about a year and a half in county jail fighting my case. And it was during COVID. So I never experienced COVID on the streets. I missed everything. But I worked deals and I got this recovery program. I'm like, all right, I'm done. But I wasn't done. As sad as that is to say, that
Mm.
still wasn't enough. Okay.
Mhm.
Because in jail, in prison, they're still, they make their homemade wine. There's still drugs that get in there. It's no different than being on the streets.
Okay.
And I was still, when I was still searching for that feeling.
Mm.
And this time it was for woe's me, I want to drink, I'm done, whatever. It took until prison. It was my last time using was a Marine Corps birthday of 2020. So November 10th, 2020. That night, I was like, it's the Marine Corps birthday. I'm going to celebrate. I got a piece of substance and I did it. And that was the first time that I took something and didn't get the feeling I wanted. I took it and I said, what are you doing, Brian? Like this isn't fun. You're literally in prison and you obviously haven't learned. Like, I don't know. I had this like reflection moment. And at that point in time, I said, I'm done. Like, I don't want to
Nice.
be, with these guys that have life sentences and stuff. I don't want to, this isn't the lifestyle that I want. Like, I miss my kids, I miss my family.
Right.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, this whole time, I drug my two sons through this. Fortunately, Brantley, he was a little too young to really realize. He just knew dad's on a video visit screen, but Braden remembers, and he still struggles with stuff today, and I can't tell him I'm sorry and just things be okay. I hurt these kids
Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. But I feel like that was 100% God talking to you and saying
Yeah.
like, listen, like you've got to stop this. And the fact that you did stop it and you're now present for your children, that's what matters. And that's what you need to focus on, dude. That's because you're doing better than a lot of people out there, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So be
Yes.
proud of that, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So my last use was the Marine Corps birthday. And that is why my sobriety date is 11/11/2020.
Okay.
Okay.
I woke up and I said, I'm done. And I went to my counselor and I said, I need to know what I need to do to go home.
Okay.
Nice.
I cut all the BS. I cut the playing around. I started AA meetings in prison.
Okay.
From that point forward, and because I had experience, I knew how to run a meeting, and I don't know, it's like this switch flipped in my head where I'm like, I was embarrassed. Like, would my Marine Corps brothers, what would they do if they knew this is how I celebrated the birthday? Would they
Yeah.
smack me around? Would they join? No, they wouldn't join me.
Yeah.
They might have a drink, and there's some that do suffer with the same disease and it's common, but like I was so embarrassed. And then I did whatever I had to do to get out. And by the grace of God, I remembered my home group from back then. And when I got home, that's the first thing I did.
Good.
As I went to my home group.
Nice.
And God works in amazing, mysterious ways. And this girl that I had a big crush on for a long time, years before, she walks in and sits down right next to me
No
at
way.
the AA meeting.
Nice.
And she turned out to be my wife.
Wow.
Wow.
Congratulations, dude. That's awesome.
Isn't that
So
awesome?
we got together. She is my saving grace, man.
Nice.
Wow.
We have 5 beautiful kids. We have a beautiful house. And the best way to explain her is she is my reason why.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Beautiful, dude. And
Yes.
we all need that reason. So yes, God definitely put her in your life and God put you in her life so you guys could lean on each other, dude.
Absolutely.
That is outstanding. Very
Yeah.
nice. Wow, what a powerful story. Are you enjoying these stories of veterans totally rocking it with sobriety? Here at This Sober Vet podcast, we want to keep bringing these warriors' tales of triumphs to you. However, we need your help to make that happen. We're in need of sponsors for This Sober Vet podcast. That's right, now's the time to show your support advertise your brand, or just make a monetary donation. It's easy. Just go to our website, www.thissobervet.com. To become a sponsor, fill out the form on our contact page. To donate, just click on Support the Mission. Let's keep shining a light for those still in the dark. After the Marine birth, did you have to was it detoxing in prison at all, or you didn't really have to deal with that too much?
No, it was just one-time use, I wasn't, back to being addicted. It was just the most unenjoyable night of my life. Like, I laid there and I watched the TV, I was on my tablet, I was emailing my mom and saying, I'm sorry, and I was writing letters and, you know, I don't know, man. It's like all these feelings, all this everyone else's pain, hit me that night.
Mm.
And I remember I wrote my dad a letter and I said, I am so sorry, because he raised me better. And yeah, it
Wow.
was just, that was like my turning point right there.
Yeah, but look at you now, dude. Now you're on the
Yes.
straight and narrow. You're sober. I
Yes.
can see in the background you have a beautiful home. Like I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you, dude, for making
We
these
do,
right
thank you.
decisions, man. This is
I actually just bought my first house 8 months ago.
Yes.
sweet.
Congrats.
Congrats,
Yeah.
dude.
So yeah,
Nice.
this is my first mortgage.
Nice. That's
So-
scary, but it's something to be proud of, dude. That's
It
good stuff.
is.
It
Nice.
is. I'm very proud of it. I couldn't have done this without, my wife is my best friend and she has been with me through thick and thin.
Mhm.
I don't know. God knew what he was doing when he sat her right next to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's huge because she's your biggest supporter, I'm sure.
She is.
Yeah. So I was actually going to say earlier when you had mentioned veteran court, there's a veteran court up here in Lancaster, and I own a junk removal company. It's veteran owned and operated. It's called J-Dog. Buddy of mine through networking was like, hey, would you mind coming to vet court and just talking to these guys? And because it's always inspiring to see like a vet doing good. I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I go out there. It's in this huge courthouse in Lancaster City. I'm thinking there's going to be like a handful of guys. Dude, there was like 30 guys in the program. There were 10 people that worked. This was like a legit courtroom situation. Yeah. So I was kind of intimidated. So when the judge called me up to speak, I told him my story and everything. And this was while I was still drinking. So it was no sober stuff. It was just talking about being a business owner, how we give back to our community. And I talked about a program through the VA called CWT, which is comprehensive work therapy, where I would hire some of my guys. And those guys are people with PTSD issues, substance abuse issues. And I would just explain it like that. So after I was done, like my 10-minute talk, I was all proud of myself, turned around, look at the judge. I was like, that's it, Your Honor. And he slowly shakes his head, and I'm like, whoa, what is happening? And he's like, in my courthouse, we don't use the D. And I'm like, what does that mean? And he was like, he pointed at the 30 guys in the program. He was like, do you think any of those gentlemen or ladies have disorders? I was like, not at all, Your Honor. He was like, well, in your speech, you said PTSD. Here is just PTS. And I was like, well, I'm so sorry. I was not briefed. I didn't know that. So he looked at the bailiff. He was all right, bailiff. He was like, cuff this gentleman, and the bailiff starts walking towards me with cuffs, and I'm like, whoa, like what is happening?
No.
And then the judge was like, or you could do 20 push-ups. I was like, I'll do 20 push-ups, Your Honor. So I get down, I beat my face.
Traumatized.
Dude, I was so scared, like for no reason. And then I recovered. I apologized to everyone. And afterwards, he was like, I wasn't going to arrest you. I was just putting on a show. He was like, but you did the right thing. But dude, I never expected having to beat my face in court, that was crazy. I'll never forget that.
Goodness, you have the wildest stories, Joe.
And I can't make this stuff up. Like I know someone's going to hear that and be like, I remember that guy. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Brian, why do you continue to choose sobriety?
Because my life's too beautiful now.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
I mean, my worst day beats my best day in the madness. I have sober problems today. I have, bills and, work stuff, those I don't have to worry about taking something to go do what I need to do. I drink coffee in the morning.
Nice.
Mhm.
but my life is absolutely beautiful. It's crazy chaotic sometimes. We have sports, we play travel baseball and all-star baseball, but, you know, somehow we manage.
That's amazing. I love hearing that.
That is.
Now, how's your family been? Have they accepted you now that you're clean? Are you back good with everyone, or how's
Yeah.
that going?
They never left. They just, they had to let me go down my path, and they couldn't ever fully let go, even though I'm sure my dad wanted to. And I told him, I was like, I don't understand why you stuck around as long as you did. I didn't deserve it. But everything's amazing. And I already had the mentality, if I didn't get everything back, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
True.
In AA, we want that, like, that feeling of, well, now you're sober, so everything, I'm gonna forget everything. Well, that's not the case. I did a lot of harm.
Yeah.
I hurt a lot of people. I let down everybody. I wasn't trustworthy. I wasn't accountable, and I don't blame people for not wanting to be associated with me. If right now I don't search friends anymore, I got one best friend and he's my neighbor,
Oh, good. Nice.
and he's been the awesome, man. Like, and I can go to him. I talk to him about everything, and he talks to me, and it's just that I'm okay with that. I don't need a big circle,
Mm-hmm.
but I need a solid circle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's more important.
Right.
So I love where I'm at today. I love my families where we do family dinners every week, and my mom and dad will come over and see the kids, and life's beautiful, man.
Amen
It's
to that.
chaotic, but it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you ever just wake up in the morning and just lay in bed and go, thank God I'm not hungover. Thank God I don't have to immediately apologize for something. Thank God I'm just sober and present.
Yeah, almost every day,
Good.
driving to work. I got like a 45-minute drive to work every day, and I do a lot of reflecting while I'm driving. And I still remember all my turnoffs for where I'd get this or where I'd get that, and I'm like, thank God. Like, I have my coffee and I'm good.
Nice.
Yeah.
My
Nice.
kids know that dad's gonna be home after work.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
They
That's
don't
huge.
question any of that anymore.
Good.
They look up to the man I am today.
Awesome.
I'm actually a role model, and it's such a beautiful thing.
You give me goosebumps, brother. I'm so proud of you, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very good. We always like to end these with, if you could give advice to someone who was in your position 3 years ago and really just going through it and stuck in that vicious cycle, if you could just give a piece of advice to help them kind of make the right choice and choose sobriety, what would you tell them?
Don't give up, and don't be afraid to put your hand out, because if you hold your hand out, someone's going to reach for it.
Nice.
I love that.
So just don't give up. I mean, it's a vicious fight. A lot of times, I remember feeling like, why am I even fighting? Why do I need to, no one's going to help. And I would lie to myself, and I'd convince myself that no one cared, no one loved me, no one's going to help. I don't know, man. And I just never gave up. And eventually your feet will touch the bottom. Some people it's sooner, like me, some people it's later. It's just, you'll get there, and there's only one direction when you're there.
Right.
You can either lay down on the bottom and give up on life, or you can stand up and fight. And as a military guy, or girl, we are bred to fight to the end, and I'm not one to lay down. So I stood up and said, let's do whatever we got to do. And I'm telling you, I had so much wreckage in my past to clean up. I'm still paying on stuff to this day, like on payment plans, because it was bad, but I got to do it. My name is Brian Rodinger, and that's how I became this sober vet.